All right, so we are live. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Woodland Pools and to another Cardano Q&A live stream. So we've got a bunch of stuff to cover this week. The first thing we're going to go over is a bunch of different updates that we have in Cardano 360. Last week of the month means Cardano 360. Let me make sure that this is working. All right. Perfect. Great. Cool. So we're going to go through over all of the updates here on Cardano 360. And then from there, we'll take a look at some updates on book.io and some big announcements that came out this week. And then some big announcements that we had with Vodafone announcing some different things on the Cardano network. So let me know, by the way, how my connection is doing. I'm live from a different location right now, and it's hard to tell how my connection is. Let me know as you're joining. Let me know if you guys have any questions. And then also as we go through this here, let me know if you can hear me okay and if we have any issues with the connection. But yeah, so let's go ahead and jump in. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is Cardano 360. Let me actually, yeah, we can leave this like that. Great. Okay, so let's take a look at Cardano 360. So the first thing was we got an update from World Mobile. So Mickey Watkins, the CEO of World Mobile. Oh, actually, so before I get into all of that, if you're watching on the replay, I'm going to add chapters for all of these things so you can jump to the different sections and you go straight into what you want to check out. And then also for all of these links that we're going to be looking at, all of them will be linked in the description down below. So yeah, you can follow up with any of those things. But yeah, so let's go ahead and continue with Cardano 360. So with this, so first thing, we had an update from Mickey from World Mobile, and he gave some updates on, actually, yeah, that's what I want to do when I come back over here. He gave some updates on how things are going with World Mobile and talked through their US deployment and what they're planning on doing in the United States with World Mobile. So let's try and see if this works and you guys can hear this okay. Let's get an update from Mickey about their US deployment and how that compares to the deployment in Zanzibar.
As well. What's happening there?
US is super exciting for both our aerial network and our ground network. We actually have 4 or 5 markets that we're entering into right now. And it's happening as well. A slight different model than the model that we're running in East Africa or the model that we're running in Pakistan, but still the same subject, still the same thing, just enabling people to be able to jump onto the network in a slightly different way. When you're using licensed spectrum compared to unlicensed spectrum, or using Wi-Fi as an example compared to somewhere that will go 15 kilometers, it's very different. When someone comes to the node with Wi-Fi, they arrive and they huddle around there. The other model that we've got in the United States, the network will come to you as opposed to you coming to the network itself. Using licensed spectrum, you're able to actually jump a lot further. So with Wi-Fi, the range is around 150 to 200 meters at best, but you've got huge capacity. You know, you can run massive amounts of data through that. But everybody huddles and comes to this. And this is a very appropriate model for East Africa, where infrastructure, power, light isn't there, for example. But in America, you know, everybody doesn't want to come to within range of a Wi-Fi. So fortunately, we've got ourselves into the position where we do have licensed spectrum. We're able to broadcast, just like any other mobile network operator, long distances. That's not to say we don't use unlicensed spectrum. We're also using CBRS to work as an offload to fill the capacity into the network and using the licensed spectrum to reach the customer on the far ends, and then building using Operation Air Node around those areas.
Now, of course.
So yeah, so some cool updates there. Two big differences there that he was talking about. For the deployments that they're doing in Africa, as he mentioned, a lot of the stuff that they're doing there is more about how do they set up basically hotspots across the country that people can walk up to and connect to and have connectivity where they want. But in the United States, it's more about across the country, you have connectivity pretty much everywhere, but you have pockets that are missing. And how do they just fill those pockets in? The other piece too, there's the first time that I heard them talking about this, is that most of the stuff that they've been talking about doing in Zanzibar and in other places have all been working with what are called unlicensed spectrums. So if you look at the spectrum that a normal telecom provider works over, there's a certain range of frequencies that they can work on. And from there, they purchase bands that correspond to the different providers in different cities, actually. So sometimes that's why in some cities, you'll have better service with your provider than in others, is because at different times they purchase different bands, and in some places they have like huge ranges, which gives them much more throughput they can work through, and in other places they don't have as many. What World Mobile's been doing in their deployments in East Africa is they've been working on an unlicensed band. So the ones that are outside that range that people buy and reserve for their own traffic. There's whole other ranges outside of there that you can use to propagate your own traffic that you don't have to get a license for. That's what they've been shooting for in East Africa. But it looks like what they're looking to do in the United States is to also purchase some bandwidth on the licensed channels so that you can get the same type of connectivity and the same type of service that you would expect from a US-based provider, but now you can use World Mobile instead. So some cool updates there. I will go ahead and so the other thing too, like I mentioned before, we're gonna have links to all these individual chapters down below as well. So you'll be able to see the full interview with Mickey, but yeah, really cool interview there. Yeah, it was just cool to hear updates of how that's going and how that's moving along. So next, the Age of Voltaire is sort of what they talked about next. I'm sure, can you guys see my little scrolling indicator? Let me get this out of the way here so you can actually see this. Yeah, there we go. So, so this whole section here was all dedicated to the Age of Voltaire and CIP-1694. So for those who've been following on the channel, we've been talking about this for a while. Voltaire is the last phase in the Cardano roadmap of all the major eras anyway, from a protocol level of things that are going to be rolled out. And a big part of that, and that's of course self-governance. And a big part of that is CIP-1694, which is talking about how are we going to do that governance and how are we going to do that management of the blockchain by the people on the chain. So this whole section was dedicated to the Voltaire era and the different workshops and things that were going on for CIP-1694. I'll let you dig into that one if you want more information there. The next section they had here was on Project Catalyst. So this Fund 10 for Project Catalyst is now kicked off. If you want any information on Project Catalyst, go to projectcatalyst.io, and it's linked in the description down below as well. And you can see all the relevant dates in terms of submitting a proposal, if you want to be a community assessor of proposals, and also signing up to vote in Project Catalyst. All those dates and deadlines and how-tos are all linked on their website, projectcatalyst.io. But there was two things here that I wanted to point out that I thought were pretty interesting. The first one is that here, this is a new one that I hadn't seen before. A new thing coming to Fund 10 is this. So for those of you who've been familiar with Project Catalyst in the past, the way that it's worked is a specific project would apply to get funding. The whole community, all of us, would vote on whether or not they get that funding. But then after that approval happened from a decentralized standpoint with everybody voting on it, then from there, the actual disbursement of the funds was still handled by the Catalyst team, which is managed, which is sort of a department in IOG. So there's still the centralization point of the disbursement of funds through IOG. What's going to be happening here in Fund 10 is the first time that we're seeing this community verified milestone-based funding. So this is actually going to be the same people that are doing the voting on the project's quality. So the community assessors that are giving ratings of the quality of submissions. I think it's going to be those same people that are going to then be verifying that the different projects have met their milestones along the way. And that if they've met those milestones, then from there, then they can get them dispersed. So this is a difference that we're seeing here now, where this is going to be from community members that are doing this and not from IOG themselves. The other piece that was a really cool thing towards the notion of decentralization was, let me see if I can pull this up. I think it was right after this section. Let me find it here. It was right after the milestone-based funding, was that the actual Catalyst team, there you go, this is actually really cool. The Catalyst team themselves are now submitting their own proposals for the community to vote on in terms of how much funding the Project Catalyst team should get as their budget on their operating expenses to continue running Project Catalyst. So the two things that they are going to have here, let me just mute this because this will pull up here. There we go. So the two things that they're going to be proposing on is Catalyst funded operations and Catalyst system improvements. So that'll be cool to see the details of the Project Catalyst team saying, hey, you know, this is the project that, are the funds that we need to continue running Project Catalyst and how they're going to do that. So two big milestones, I think, towards decentralization. The milestone-based funding, where we're going to see that it is the community themselves that vote, that handle the disbursement of funds. And then from there, the Project Catalyst team submitting just like anybody else to get their funding, to get their work done on Project Catalyst. So I thought that was pretty cool. Next, there was an update on Marlowe and the Marlowe team. So a reminder on Marlowe. Marlowe is a domain-specific language that makes it that you can write very straightforward financial smart contracts without having to know how to actually write Plutus or anything like that. I'll let you guys jump into that section if you have any more questions there. But then from there, we had an update on Atala Prism. So Atala Prism is IOG's identity solution, and they've just now kicked off their new project. And I wanted to show you guys an update here on, let's get a refresher on what is Atala Prism, and then also what are the different things that they have coming up. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into that and hear from Tony Rose, the head of Atala Prism, on the stuff that they have coming up, what Atala Prism is, and how you can get involved.
Applications. Atala Prism is developer tools for building decentralized identity applications, working with the new World Wide Web Consortium standards of DIDs, decentralized identifiers, verifiable credentials, and DIDCOM. It's a great companion to blockchain applications and lets you own, hold, and control your data, including who you connect to and who you share information with. Let's get started. So one of the things we're super thrilled is that Catalyst Fund 10, our challenge, Launch Ecosystems, has been funded, and there will be over 3 million ADA available for proposers.
Cool. So yeah, so Project Catalyst, so Atala Prism, IOG's decentralized identity solution. They have several different SDKs and things that you can build on to build your own solutions. And with Project Catalyst that we were just talking about, you'll be able to submit proposals to do different products and solutions using Atala Prism. They're also kicking off the version 2 of their Atala Prism Pioneers program. And they're also doing a hackathon this summer that's going from July 14th to August 26th, where you can make your own Atala Prism solutions, and the prizes and the winner will be awarded at Rare Evo Conference on August 24th. Which, by the way, for those of you that are planning going to the Rare Evo Conference, if you haven't yet gotten your tickets to that, go to rareevo.io. If you use code Woodland10, you'll get 10% off, and then all of the affiliate funds that come in from that will help somebody else attend as well. So, yeah, a bit on that. Here's some more information on their Atala Prism Pioneers program, which is coming out, and I'll let you listen to the rest of this section to get more information. But I wanted to let you guys know, because this is, in addition to Catalyst sort of kicking back off again, we're now seeing the Atala Prism program now sort of ramping back up and making another big push into the community. Next, we got updates on Lace. So Lace Wallet is IOG's official light wallet. We've covered it on the channel before. They did their official launch a couple of months ago, and they've just now released version 1.2. I'll let you check out this section for some more information. But a couple of cool things that they came out with version 1.2, multi-address support is now supported. Lace will continue to operate as a single address wallet, while all of your transactions will be going to and from the same address. But if you were previously using a multi-address wallet, Lace is now smart enough to be able to handle that and know your true balance across all of your addresses, whereas previously it was only showing you the balance of just the one. So that's a big update there. And another thing too that they've done is they've added the ability to make what they call NFT folders. So if you have a lot of different NFTs, you can categorize them sort of how you're used to on your computer and sort them and put them into bundles and things like that to be able to manage them a little bit easier. Maybe next week or the week after, we'll actually do another walkthrough of the Lace wallet and we can take a look at some of these features. Okay. Oh, and then from there at the end, building on Cardano, we had the team from 5 Binaries, which has done in the past. They did, they're the ones, their biggest flagship product is Blockfrost. But now, the name escapes me. The new project that they're talking about now is... Oh man, I forgot what it's called. It's an NFT data persistence project, and it is called Continuity Token. So, of course, something we've talked about in the channel before is about, for your NFTs, if you don't have some persistent storage for them, if whatever project stops paying for the pinning of that information on IPFS, then the data for that is lost. So here with Continuity Token, they have their own approach to how they are going to make it that if you sign up for their plan or for their program, if you hold certain continuity tokens, then from there you can have a certain amount of data persistence in different ways. Kind of an interesting approach. but I wanted to make you guys aware of that project. Okay, so let's take a pause here. We're going to take a look in a second here at all of the updates from book.io, but I wanted to first walk everybody through everything going on in Project Catalyst. Let's take a second and do some hellos. Alexander says, book is a great project. I agree. Yeah, so we're about to dig into that. NWE, Network with Entrepreneurs Show. Hello, everybody. Where are you joining us from? Let us know where you're joining from. I love knowing where people are calling in from. Gary Golden, good to see you again, man. It's been a minute since I've seen you on the stream. Hello from Brooklyn. And Zanji, a pleasure, dude. So for those of you who don't know, Zanji is also one of the people in the book project that helps put together the amazing covers. So if you like the beautiful covers that we have on the book.io books, Zanji is one of the people that helps to put all of that together. So good to see you again, Zanji. All right, cool. So with that, let's go ahead and continue on to the big news with book.io. All right, so there's Josh just staring you dead in the eyes. But I wanted to first here, so there was this big announcement that came out this week. For some of you may already know kind of the details of it, but not everybody necessarily knows what happened. So what I thought we would do is Josh put out this video with an update sort of on what's going on, what the announcement is, and what comes out next. So I thought we would listen to part of this, maybe just a few minutes of this, because I think there's some really good background. And instead of me just basically saying the exact same thing, I think we'll listen to Josh's take on it, because I think he put it really well. So here's the update from Josh on book.io. Here's the CEO of book.io.
Hi everyone, I'm Josh Stone, the CEO of book.io. It's been almost a year since we launched the first ever decentralized encrypted asset last July. I want to thank the entire book.io community for your awesome support, especially those of you in the OG Book Club. It's been absolutely amazing to see an idea grow and expand into a community that just continues to keep getting bigger, and it's super motivating for the entire team. As my co-founder Ben often says, I think we have the best community in all of crypto because we're based on a fundamental mission of decentralizing and incentivizing knowledge. So let's get to some really big news. But first, I do have to say officially, this is not financial or investing advice, so please do your own research. So with that as an exciting disclaimer, I am super happy to announce that we are finally, at long last, launching our native token. So for everyone out there over the past year who's been asking when token, we finally have an answer for you. Just as a quick background, we minted an original token over 2 years ago in June of 2021. It was right after Cardano opened up the ability to create native tokens for the first time. It was actually before there was metadata support to have a divisible token, so one that doesn't stay whole integers. So we're officially going to call that old token from 2021 Book Classic. Don't worry if you have Book Classic, I'll let you know what the plan is for that too. The new Book token will still be a native Cardano token. It will also still be a fixed supply of 10 billion tokens. Really the only difference is it's divisible. So why is it so important that it's divisible, you might ask? Well, as I've mentioned before, there are over 1.1 billion people that will buy a digital book in 2023, and that number continues to grow each year. So right out of the gate, with only a fixed supply of 10 billion tokens, if they weren't divisible, we wouldn't even be able to equally divide all those because it would be like 9.1 tokens per, and we have no way to divide the token currently. Most importantly too with that, as we want to launch our read to earn reward program, we have to have a divisible token in order to divide it up to function the reward system properly. So let's talk about some token sale details. July 20th, we will celebrate officially our first full year since we sold our Gutenberg Bible, the first ever DEA book. So we're going to do the token launch on that day to celebrate our 1 year anniversary. So we're going to do a multi-stage sell. So the sooner you participate in it, the better the price you will get. So very big news, if you hold one of those first Gutenberg DEAs and you're a part of the OG Book Club, you will get first shot at the token sell in an exclusive 24-hour window. So if you do want the earliest access and you don't have a Gutenberg, go grab one on the JPEG store and get on our Discord. If you don't have a Gutenberg, you can still get on the whitelist. To be eligible is really simple. You just need to sign up for our email list, and we'll verify that when we open the whitelist cell. And you'll see links for this on the token sell pages. So the sale will start on 7/20. It will run to 9/20, and then the token will be dropped to everyone on 10/20. So 7/20 to 9/20, 10/20 drop. So back to what happens if you own some book classic. Very important, you can swap it starting today, like right after you finish this video, because the sooner you swap it, the larger bonus you'll get for doing so. So swap it quickly and get the biggest bonus. So with all that news, you might be wanting to know more about the token, what exactly it's used for, how does read to earn work, etc. So our other big announcement today is that we are releasing officially our Whitepaper 2.0. We are, of course, releasing this as a PDF, and we're putting it on Medium. But you also see links. You'll see links to this on the site. But we're also going to release a collector's edition DEA of the white paper as well. So there'll be 5,000 of those on Cardano for just 5 ADA each, and then 1,000 on Polygon for 2 Matic. And the sale will be happening today.
All right. So my computer's really not letting the video running for that long, so I'll go ahead and stop it there, because for the rest of this stuff, I can actually show you all the different things that he was talking about. So really big stuff, really big announcement. The Book.io token sale was announced, and for those that had the token Classic, you can now swap that. Zanji, the old Book token swap went really smooth. Great job. Thanks. I appreciate that. So yeah, let's actually take a look at that. Let's do a couple other hellos. Chicago T, greetings from Chicago. Longtime fan. Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for joining. And Accelerate, always good to see you from Tampa, Florida. Awesome. Cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of this Book.io details that we were just talking about. So the Book.io white paper that he was talking about. If you want to just read through what the Book.io project is and what the goals of the project are, this is available on Medium right now as a PDF that you can check out, and it's linked in the description below. If you're interested in the book project, I really recommend taking the time to read through this thing. It is excellently written, and also written in a way that anybody can follow and understand the goals of the project and how it sort of all comes together. So as an example, like this is one of my favorite takeaways of like what we always talk about of the mission of book and stuff like that. Consumers often encounter misleading sense of ownership when purchasing digital books. Despite the presence of a seemingly straightforward buy button, the reality is that they're not actually acquiring ownership of the book itself, and instead their purchase grants them just a license to access and read the book's contents. So the whole point of Book.io is you can actually have true ownership of your books. You can buy them, you can sell them, you can lend them to a friend. So this is the whole thing that we're trying to do. And this white paper walks through all of those details, including all kinds of stuff like tokenomics, the read to earn program, how all that's going to work. So I highly recommend you check this out. This is available on Medium right now, and you can take a look there. If you have some more questions on how this whole thing comes together, there was a fantastic AMA that was put together by the Book.io founders. So Ben and Josh were on this AMA answering a bunch of different questions. And I will say that even now being part of the project for almost about 6 months and having been a huge fan of Book.io for a solid 6 months before I joined, so now it's been almost a year, and I've been following this since the very beginning, and I thought Book has been my favorite project in blockchain since I first heard about them. And even then, for how closely I follow it and how deeply I am in it, it was so cool to just sort of take a step back and like step out of the code for a second that we're writing every day and listen again to some of the high level vision of where the project can go, what is the aspirations of what we're all trying to do here. I thought it was really inspiring and really cool. So if you're a fan of the Book.io project and you haven't had a chance to check out this AMA, I highly recommend it. It was really, really great. So with that, let's take a look at the actual initial token offering and some of the details. Let me hide this so it's out of the way. There we go. Oh, let me get that. Okay, so we're good. There we go. Cool. So I want to show you guys the initial token offering and some information here on what you can do with this whole process. So if you come to app.book.io or even book.io/ITO, it'll bring you to the initial token offering page. We see that the ITO will kick off in 17 days. Here's some information I want to share with you guys. The old book policy ID for Book Classic is here, and you can see the fixed supply of that old amount, and then the new one that's been minted that it's being swapped for. If you do not have any Book Classic and you want to get access to be able to purchase in the book ITO. As he mentioned, there's two ways you can do this. You can either add your name here to request access to get on the whitelist for being one of the first people to be able to purchase the book token. Or if you want to go even earlier than that, then you can purchase the, yeah, exactly. Purchase and hold one of the first 10,000 DEAs that we did, the Gutenberg Bible. And let me open that up here. I'm going to have that open in a second on JPEG Store. I thought I had that open before. Well, I mean, I'm glad we're opening it now. So if you come to JPEG Store, you can get a copy of the Gutenberg Bible. So the Gutenberg Bible is the first book that we minted with book.io. And once you have one of these, you can be part of what's called the OG Book Club. And with that, you get all kinds of stuff like discounts on mints and stuff like that. And one of the additional benefits that you'll get is that for the ITO, you will be the very first group of people that will have the ability to be able to buy the token. So I'm going to let that load up. Like I said, my connection doesn't like when I'm trying to do too many things at once. This poor laptop is on its last legs here. But in any case, you can get the Gutenberg Bible on JPEG Store, and that is how you will get access to that. So now, additionally, from there, what we were talking about was if you happen to have the classic book token, the book token classic, the one that was sold last year, and you want to swap it for the new one, if you click on swap here, here's the swap page, and here's the stuff that he was talking about where this swapping bonus. So right now, we're within this range here of the first and second tier. We are here right now at an 8% bonus. So if you're listening right now and you have Book Classic, I highly recommend that you come to the site and swap now because you get an 8% bonus. And starting on the 5th, that drops and will continue dropping. Keep in mind that there will be no utility of the old book token. The only one that will be used for all the different features and things moving forward will be the new one. So there is no reason to hold on to the old one. You should definitely swap your old one for the new one, and you should do it as soon as possible, and you can do it here is the promotional rate. And here's the process on how you do it. It's super straightforward. You just come in, you click on swap now. Actually, let me show you how this will work here. I'm going to go ahead and click on, I'll click on Eternal here. It's nothing like doing it live. So it's looking for Book Classic tokens in my wallet. And you see that I have no Book Classic tokens in this wallet that I have. If you have Book Classic, it would pull it up here, and it would say, okay, this is how many you have. You enter how many you want to swap. You sign the transaction, and what will happen is, like it says here, what will happen is it will swap your Book Classic that you have into the new book tokens, and those new book tokens that were swapped on your behalf will be put into a time-locked contract that you'll be able to get those tokens out on October 20th. So the way that this works is that way the people that are swapping their old book tokens for the new ones and the people that are purchasing the new tokens, everybody that buys them, everybody that buys or swaps them, they all go to this lock contract, and then everybody will be able to unlock them at the same time on October 20th. So cool, yeah. Some additional things on that I wanted to show you guys. See if this loaded up here. There we go. So that's what the Gutenberg Bible looks like. So if you want to get one, and you can be the earliest ones to get into the ITO, and additionally you get discounts and stuff on mints. Zanji kept one old book token just for history. That's actually pretty cool, man. Hello, Mark Byers from Sydney, always joining in the morning from Sydney. Sorry it's significantly earlier than usual for you to join us. So let me see if I do my math right. Normally I do this 2 hours later, so it's 7 a.m. for you, right? On Sunday, bright and early. Or it must be Monday now. What's the future like? Let me know. What's going on, Vic? So you could technically buy the old book token. Yeah, you could technically buy the old book token today and swap for a bonus. But the thing is that there's, the price has been pretty volatile lately with people trying to do exactly that. So, I mean, make your own decision on basically the math you need to do in your head is, do you think that the price change that has happened due to the announcement will be less than the 8% bonus you'd get for swapping, right? Which compared to what just the ITO price will be, which Josh and Ben are keeping as sort of like a closely guarded figure specifically to not influence or manipulate any of the book classic price. So, that's just kind of like you have to decide that for yourself. I don't have any book classic. I'm not going out and buying any. But yeah, that's a thing you could do. So yeah. All right. Would you anticipate issues purchasing the new token during the OG window if your Gutenberg is on a ledger with a Gero wallet? no, that should not be a problem. So the reason why Chicago T is asking this is because for reading the books, if your book is on a ledger, Ledger doesn't currently yet support payload signatures, which is how reading of the books works. And so I get that's why you're asking for this thing. But if you think about it, Chicago T, the same way how you've been able to buy, how you've been able to purchase other books and get your OG discount. And like, for example, for me, I have all of my books on my Ledger Nano X, and I'm able to buy books and get my discount for having the Bible every time with no problem. So similarly, there won't be any issue with you buying your book tokens with your Gutenberg Bible on your Ledger. And as a matter of fact, that I would always recommend as a best practice to have all of your valuable assets on a hardware wallet, either a Ledger or a Trezor. So yeah, great question. Thank you for asking. And so with that, actually, I think it's a good opportunity to talk a little bit more about some of the technical aspects of how this all came together. You know, on the channel, we always want to talk about like how things work. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about two things. A little bit about giving you guys an idea of how this whole swap comes together under the hood. But two, in when we were building this thing, there was a couple of different pieces of community elements that we've been talking about in the channel for a long time that were a really big help in having us be able to put this whole thing together. And it's the kind of stuff we've been talking about for a while now, about how these things are going to make it easier for other people to do this stuff. And it was really great being a first person consumer of one of these things when we were doing the swap. So RJ, our CTO at Book.io, put together this great thread on how it all came together. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let me read through a few parts of it because I think this is actually really interesting. And I think it'll give some really good background for you guys on sort of how this is all working, because we took, you know, if you think about it, for something like this swap, we could have done it in a very custodial way, where we say, okay, send your old tokens to us, we'll do some math, and then we'll send some tokens on your behalf to this address, or we'll just, you know, or even just send some tokens to us, and then when the ITO opens, send some funds to us, we'll do some math, and then we promise we'll just send you stuff at a certain date. But RJ and I are both really big fans of the notion of decentralization and trustless and the trustless aspects of blockchain. And so the two of us kind of brainstormed this for a while and put together what we thought was a really cool solution on how to make this basically all on-chain with on-chain validators in a truly decentralized and trustless way. And so I thought it'd be cool to walk you guys through some of the pieces of how that came together and also some of the community elements that helped us along the way. So RJ here said you want to share a quick thread on some of the technical aspects of the token swap that came out. So from a purely technical perspective, the problem was trying to swap the old book tokens, but to make it in a subdivisible one like Josh was talking about. So then we had to mint the new one, and here is what sort of the constraints were. The swap had to be a simple and smooth process for holders. It had to be fully decentralized. We thought that was really important to us here. The locked value had to be completely transparent on chain. So when you did the swap, you'd be able to see exactly how much of it is being held for you at the lock contract. And we should be able to incentivize users to swap early. The swap tokens needed to be locked until the ITO was complete, so that way the people who swap tokens would get them out at the exact same time as those who purchased tokens. So RJ and I started discussing potential solutions, and we came up with a combination of 4 different contracts working together. There was the swap contract that the people were interacting with, the lock contract that it would be sent to, which is the same one that everybody purchasing things would be sent to, an archive always fail contract where the old book tokens would be sent to, and then a datum store contract, which would manage a reference NFT that we'll talk about down below. So for those, actually, this is actually a really great thing, because think about in the channel how many times we've talked about when Vasil was coming out and reference inputs and reference NFTs and how all of that was going to work. Remember, like when we were talking about how big that was going to be and how useful that was going to be? This reference datum store thing is really, really cool, and we'll get to it in a second, but this is a huge power of Vasil Features that we've talked about for months on the channel. So generally the idea was this. We would lock a 1-to-1 equivalent of the new book to cover the existing circulating supply of the old book. The user would interact with the swap contract. If they bring book old, it would lock the equivalent amount of the new book token into it, plus their bonus rate. And for that user, it would send that book old, their old token that they had, to the archive, to an always fail contract that it could, the notion with the always fail contracts, so think about an on-chain validator. All a validator does is that it runs its custom validation logic whenever someone is trying to send something out of that script address. And it basically just says, based on this arbitrary logic, yes, I'm going to let you do that or not. what is called an always, there's two like very common kinds of things using like when you're first learning how to write smart contracts. An always succeeds validator is one that no matter what, it always returns true, so you can always move things out. The opposite of that is what's called an always fail validator. And an always fail validator is the exact same thing as what it sounds like, is that it always says no. So anything sitting at that address, the validator always says, nope, you can't get it out of here. So basically it's a way to make anything sent to that address stuck forever. So what we did was we made this always fail address, and then as part of the swap, what's happening under the hood automatically is that your new book tokens are sent to the lock contract, and your old book tokens are sent to this always fail archive contract, which is never going to let anything move out of there. And so once it's in the archive, it's unspendable forever. As I was saying before, the lock contract will keep the tokens locked until the ITO is complete, and then anybody can pay the transaction fee to send the book tokens to the rightful owner. We're going to do this for folks, so that's something we'll just take care of. But anybody can then come in and pay if they wanted to have that sent out. And all of those different UTXOs holding everybody's new book tokens all have in the datum the corresponding wallet address they need to be sent out to. So what we're going to do is on October 20th, go in and fire them off to everybody. The cool thing about this, when we're talking about being totally trustless and totally transparent, is that anybody can come and look at their UTXO and see the pub key hash that's stored there and verify that it's the one for their wallet. And additionally, the logic that's built into this contract makes it in such a way that if somebody else tried to come into that validator and say, okay, well, I'm just going to take VIX tokens, right? The validator itself would see that the address that I'm trying to send it to is mine and not his, and then it would fail and say, no, you can't do that. Additionally, if I tried to even just sneak in there and send it to Vic and pay the fees for him, or try to do it today, the validator would say, hey, it's not October 20th, and so it would fail, and it wouldn't let me do that. But after October 20th, if I wanted to, this doesn't have to even be RJ or anybody from Book, if after October 20th, if I wanted to, if I came in and said, hey, I want to unlock VIX tokens and send it to VIX address, the validator would see it's after the date, it's going to the address that was stored that corresponded to him, and it would go through with no problem. So this was the sort of the big thing of how it all came together for the lock contract. And the swap contract automatically does all this for you and sends those funds and locks it all up in that way for you. So this is the cool thing that I was telling you about with the Vasil features. To control the redemption rate and the unlock date, we wrote a one-shot mint contract to mint an NFT that must always live at the datum store contract address. I want to talk about this for a second. On this NFT's UTXO, we have a datum that stores the details of the swap, the unlock date, the current bonus rate, the hashes of the other scripts it interacts with, among other things. This NFT is passed as a reference input. So cool. As a reference input to both the swap and the lock contracts, and defines the rules of the swap and the lock. This allowed us to update the bonus rate over time and to potentially release the tokens early if it sells out quickly. This is so cool and would not have been doable without the Vasil features. So let's think about how this would have worked. So again, a step back from Book. I think this is like a great exercise for us to look at, for all of us that have been following these Cardano things for a while, all his developments on the Cardano protocol layer itself for a while. I think this is a great example that I happen to be personally involved with, but a great example for all of us to think through how much the chain has advanced just in the past year. If we think about this, the notion of this NFT holding a reference datum, okay, the datum is just the information that sits on a UTXO. The reference UTXO is going to give us the ability to, as a reference, read for any transaction without consuming it, what's the information that's sitting here? And that information is going to be holding things like the official unlock date, the current promotion rate, and stuff like that. Previously, without the notion of reference inputs, in order to read a datum on a UTXO, you always had to consume that UTXO. So you had to basically take it, throw it away, and then make a new one. So that made it that it basically was unworkable to have something like this where you could have a central place. It's sort of like it holds your information that all of your other contracts interact with. This would not have been possible before the Vasil era. But additionally now, the fact that these things are always just looking for this NFT at this specific address, then now the cool thing is, if you take, so this is what's called like a reference validator. If you take like the validator that's there and the NFT is sitting there, and the NFT, like when it gets sent there, it has a UTXO, obviously it's in a UTXO with reference information. Now this validator is written in such a way that the NFT can only ever be sent back to itself. But the cool thing is when you send the NFT back to itself, when you send it back again, you can now update the datum information and you can have new information in terms of, okay, so the promotion was at 10%, now it's at 8%. Or one thing that Josh talked about in the AMA is that if the ITO goes really well and sells out right away, then there's no reason for us to have to wait until October 20th. So we could just update the reference NFT sitting at this ref store validator, send it to itself, update the unlock date, and then everybody can get their tokens ahead of time. Prior to the Vasil era, not only would this not have been possible, but all of these details of things like the promotional rates, the unlock date, all of that would have had to have been hard-coded into the contract that was deployed and would be totally unchangeable. So that means it would have been much more rigid and static in the sense that like the promotional dates would be unchangeable. That would be fixed and known from the very beginning. The unlock date, even if everybody purchased all the tokens right away, would be static and unchangeable. This is the kind of power that we were able to utilize for this, but just for everybody in the Cardano community, I think we should really all appreciate how this is doable because of all of the upgrades we've been covering in the channel for so long. This flexibility to be able to do this is all powered by Vasil Features, which were not available until 8 months ago or something. So I wanted to pause and talk through that because for those of you who've been watching the channel for a while, like how long have you been hearing me talk about the power of these Vasil features? And it's just so cool to hear a very tangible example of how all of that comes together. So that's how all of that works. So basically we parameterize aspects of the contract in a way that allows us to dynamically tweak the behavior without needing to change the contract. This is such a powerful concept and so cool. And to be able to have hands-on experience on it was fantastic. All right, so this is what I was talking about from a community standpoint. For the contracts themselves, we chose to write them in Aiken, which we've talked about in the channel multiple times, and our experience with it could not have been any better. I have to stop. I did a retweet of this and called out the Aiken team and K2Z, who is the lead developer on this, who is the technical director at the Cardano Foundation. He used to be one of the main developers on Hydra. He's an absolute technical superstar in the community. And I have to stop and say, for those that have been trying to like learn Plutus and going through the Plutus Pioneer program and had to learn Haskell first and all of this stuff, remember on the channel we've been talking about for so long how even if you're not a developer, how all of these projects, which by the way, Aiken is a product that is put together, it is a TX pipe product. They're the ones who also do Demeter Run. So think about how many times you've heard me in the channel say like how important it is to have these different things so that developers can build things more quickly and get up to speed and get things out the door, and how we need to improve our developer experience. Because if developers can develop things more easily, then consumers can appreciate the usage of that more quickly. So we used Aiken, and we came up to speed on Aiken on probably like 2 weeks, just to give you an idea of just how easy it was to use. So huge props to the Aiken team. This is exactly what we need to be able to get products and projects to launch and get their stuff out there in a quick amount of time, but also in a secure way. We've been talking about this for a long time, about how they're working towards doing this, and it was such a pleasure to be able to work on it firsthand and do it. Huge props to the Aiken team. You are sort of the rising tide is lifting all ships in the Cardano community. Very, very well done. With that, it was a community effort. So I wrote the swap, lock, one-shot mint, and datum store contracts. Chris, free exploit, we're at the archive contract, and where did he? Here we go. And RJ wrote all of the off-chain code to handle the transaction construction, the parallelism, send an address, all kinds of stuff. And then Nacho, of course, our QA guy, tested and broke everything. We also had this all this code audited by Twig, who is an official Cardano code auditing company, and it was actually their first time working with Aiken as well. So I'll take a step back here and just say all of this stuff that we've been talking about for so long on the channel, these different companies that help with auditing of software, these different projects that are making it easier for developers to put things together, Vasil features to make this all much more doable and dynamic. All of this stuff really came together for us to be able to launch this swap contract that went live today, in addition to it utilizing the time lock contract that everybody else will then additionally continue interacting with when the ITO opens up. I think one thing that'll be cool too, that I'm probably gonna make an edited video on this, but if you come, for example, to the token sale, and if we look at, for example, this Book Classic Policy ID, while this loads up, I saw a bunch of comments coming in, so let's take a second for all of this here. All right, Chicago T was a holder of Book Classic, but had difficulty with the swap, so had to send in to the address instead. Wondering if it was due to Ledger. Probably not. There's a couple of reasons why that might have happened. If you had your UTXO filled with a bunch of other assets, that could have been part of the problem. There's a few different things that could have happened, but it wasn't because of the ledger. Definitely not. Yeah, 7 a.m. 7 a.m. in Australia. Well, thanks for joining so early. I appreciate it. And the future is good. I appreciate it. Cool. Jeff, man, I haven't seen you around here in so long. You missed the Gutenberg Bible initial sale, but that's okay. You're here now, and you can get one if you want on JPEG Store. It's really good to see you, Jeff. I was actually just wondering about you. Haven't seen you around in a while. Jeff is one of the OGs of our channel here and has been with us from the very beginning. So really good to hear from you, Jeff. All right. And Mark Byers had kept a book 2. And oh, cool. You had the book old too. You did the swap and it worked well. That's so cool to hear, man. That makes me so happy. I'm so happy to hear that. Oh, man, there's so many more comments that I've missed. Okay. Vic, I said this before, but book is the best NFT project on any chain. Excited for the future of book. Thanks, man. I could not agree more. I've been a huge fan for a very long time. Let me pause for a second here with the comments, because what I wanted to show you guys is that if we look at, here's the policy detail for book old. And if we look at, I thought I just saw, here we go, transactions. Because this is kind of cool. So if we pull up transactions, and let's see if I don't like really piss off my computer as I'm doing this. Do some more comments while it's loading up. Art, Official Intelligence, says, awesome job. Thank you. Appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to write that. This reminds me of what a powerhouse Cardano is. Voltaire is nearly here. Man, this is exciting. I could not agree more. Like, going through this process and writing all of these contracts and working with a team as professional as Twig and just like everything about it and how easy Aiken was to use. And then to top all of that off, like what I was saying, the Twitter space that Ben and Josh put together. So I've been so in the code and just like being so fascinated by all these great sort of giant shoulders that we're building on. And then taking a step back and hearing Ben and Josh talk about the long-term roadmap of where the project's going to go. It's just, I am more bullish on Cardano than I've ever been. It's just so cool. Vidimon, patience will pay off. This is some very cool tech. Yeah, I think it's, well, yeah, that's why I develop it. I think it's so cool. It's really wild to see where ADA has come since 2016. Zanji, I was just thinking about this. I was just talking to RJ about this. When I went to the Cardano Summit in 2021, I remember that the big thing that we were all talking, to put this in perspective, Cardano Summit 2021, this was in September of 2021. So it's not even 2 years ago. I remember that the big thing that we were all talking about was that smart contracts had just come out. Like, before that, there were no smart contracts at all. Like, I was actually telling RJ the best stuff. I was like, what did we even talk about before then? But I don't know. So it's just like, it's so great to see all of this stuff. And to your next point here, slow and steady is the way. All of this stuff that's been slowly ramping up for years now and just really starting to see it all fire is really, really exciting. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you guys. This is for the old book policy ID. I think this is so cool. You can actually see on CExplorer or on Cardano Scan, you can actually see all these different transactions that are happening in the swap right now. And all of this, all of these right now are being enforced by the swap and by the swap validator. So this just happens to be, this is just any transactions with the with book. But let me actually do this. We'll do this. We'll do one better. Let's go to here. This has to be the lock contract. Yeah, this is definitely it. So let's come to the lock contract. Oh, sorry, the swap contract. And notice, by the way, like what RJ was seeing in his post, that all I did was clicked on the policy ID for book old. From there, I looked at the transactions of people using that asset. And then from there, I was able to find this address right here for anybody who wants to come and take a look. This is the swap contract living on chain. Anybody can come and see all the transactions that are going through the swap contract right now. So let me give this a second to load up. Cool. So check this out. We can see here that, for example, this address that ends in JQSNE, they have 10 ADA in this address. They've swapped out 1.02 book old, and then the swap contract has assigned for them 50 million of, no, sorry. This is what's sitting at the address, 50 million. These are the inputs. This is That address had 10 ADA, and they also brought in 1.02 book old. And the swap contract is currently holding it at this UTXO 50 million of the new book. And now here is where I think it's really cool, where this is completely transparent to anybody. We can see here that the user, JQSNE, oh, I see. They didn't swap all of their stuff at once. Yeah, exactly. So here's some additional book old that they had. They didn't swap everything all at once. Here's the swap contract keeping its change. But we can see here. Did they only... Oh, they only swapped 2 book old. Let's look for a better example. They only did 2 book old. Okay. Yeah. This is a better example. Okay, so here's this address here. They are bringing in 12.5K of book old. This is the new book. This is the address. This is the book old going to the burn address. Trying to find a clean one that I can show you. Okay. Okay, this is a cleaner one here. All right, this is a cleaner one to show. All right, this is like the UTXOs here are kind of hard to read, but this is a cleaner one we can show. All right, so this address here, this is the swap address, okay? This here is, this user, NZSX, is, they have some Noom tokens, but here's their book old that they're swapping. We see that the NZSX, they get back their Noom tokens and nothing else. The swap contract has its change of what it gets back here, but we can see that for this address, here is where the swap is happening. They are having their book old that they put in is going to the archive address. That is, so this is the archive address here. We can actually pull that up and we actually see all of the assets sitting at that address. And then here is, they brought in 2.28 book old, and now we see their new book is 2.46, so it's what they swap plus the 8% being sent to the lock contract. And you can see all of this on chain. So that person can then at any point come to the lock contract and then see what's locked there and see the funds that correspond to them. So all this is completely transparent. If we come to, for example, here, this is the archive contract. If we come to the assets tab, give this a second. We can see here that currently there are 381 million book classic that have already been swapped and sent to this archive contract, and it's never going to come out of here again. So anyway, really cool stuff. Wanted to walk you guys through all of that. I know there's a lot of detail, but I thought it was a really great opportunity for those that are in the OG book club to understand how this is working under the hood, and for those that have just been following the channel for a while and are curious about all this different technology that's going on with all of these upgrades and enhancements, how those are actually helping us do these things for all projects in the ecosystem. If you want to buy a copy of the DEA of the white paper, actually, so let's do this. I bought several of these. They're sold out now, the Book.io white paper. Let's do this. In the comments below, let me know your favorite book of all time and why, and I will pick 2 people from the comments. Or if enough people do it in the chat as well, we'll do one from the chat and one from the comments. But let me know down below your favorite book of all time, and I will pick 2 people to send a copy of the Book.io white paper DEA. All right, and so with that, I want to stop for a second and wanted to stop and say a huge thank you and welcome to all of our newest delegators. So everybody that you see here are all people that joined us in the past week. Thank you so much for coming on board. We truly appreciate your support, and we're so excited to be on this journey with you. Let's all keep growing together, and thank you so much for everybody who's been supporting the channel. It's been absolutely wonderful. Let me just, for a second here, I'm going to skip ahead and jump over here to pool.pm, and let's hide these for a second. The pool is now almost at 15 million ADA delegated with well over 1,000 delegators. I've got to say, like, just week after week, the support from the community has been absolutely incredible. And if you appreciate the work we do here on the channel and all this educational content that we really dig into the details on, the best way that you can support the channel is by delegating to the ASPEN stake pool. So thank you so much to everybody again. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, so let me know in the comments your favorite book of all time, and I will be giving away to 2 people a copy of the Book.io white paper DEA. So to wrap up here, some exciting news that I wanted to share with all of you. For those of you who might have seen this sort of teaser that came out from Vodafone, one of the largest cell phone connectivity providers in the world, on their official account, tweeted out and asked, does Cardano have NFTs? Join their Discord and find out. And then another little like moving the chains with a little ghost, so the ghost chain stuff. Kind of a cryptic tweet here. And then they tweeted Cardano, Cardano Community, Cardano Whale, the people you'd expect, Cardano Foundation, Charles. But then they also tagged NMaker. We saw after that a tweet from Patrick talking about how important it was that they tweeted this out, and this is actually Vodafone's most engaged tweet ever. This is actually kind of cool. This is the kind of tweets that they are used to getting. Oh, hold on. Here we go. So this is the kind of, oh, shoot, let me clear that. Is that going to do what I want it to do? Yeah, great. So this is the kind of engagement that they're used to getting. 4 retweets, 9 likes, a couple comments, stuff like that. And when they did this, they got over 1,100 likes, 500 retweets. So this is the kind of stuff where like a company like Vodafone, they're like, oh, dang. If we interact, if we start, stepping into some of these ecosystems, like there's a lot of people here. Like we could probably make some business here. So, with that, Patrick was talking about how important this is, whatever else. So then that's kind of people thinking like, okay, well, is he somehow involved in this whole thing? And then I think later that day or the next day was this announcement that it's official. Vodafone service is coming to Cardano and they're minting NFTs with NMaker. So really, really huge in terms of adoption and getting Web 2 companies on board and using Cardano services. So I just wanted to share this with you guys because I thought this is just like such a cool thing. Huge props to Patrick and the entire NMaker team. Here is Vodafone's Discord talking about how they're going to be minting these different NFTs on the Cardano platform. Huge, huge props to the entire NMaker team for having this come together. This is exactly the kind of stuff that we need to see. So kind of like wrapping all of that up, right, and bringing it all together. An incredible week from a technological standpoint. I mean, really exciting for us at the book project to be rolling this stuff out. But I think, like as I said, when we were like digging into all of these details in RJ's thread, the amount of stuff that this signifies and shows of where we're at in Cardano right now, the usage of Vasil Features, the ability that we were able to write these contracts and put them together in just a few weeks because of how fast and easy Aiken was to use. The kind of assurances that we got of the quality of like the contracts in terms of potential exploits and stuff like that with companies like Twig. All of this stuff all coming together and then seeing NMaker then using that kind of stuff also and bringing the likes of Vodafone on board. Really, really exciting stuff. So yeah, if you support the work that we do here, the best way to support the channel is by delegating to the ASPEN stake pool. I'm going to give away 2 copies of the book Whitepaper DEA. Let me know down below your favorite book ever, and I will pick 2 winners, and then from there, I will send you your copies of the Whitepaper DEA. Next Monday, I am going to, I won't be able to do the stream on Monday, so we're going to do this live stream again next Sunday, a week from today, but we'll probably do it in the evening again at, I always get this wrong, at 11 p.m. UTC, is that right? It's 7 hours, right? So, or midnight UTC, I don't know. It'll be at 5 p.m. in warm sunny Colorado, 7 p.m. Eastern. I think that's 11 p.m. UTC. Yes, 11 p.m. UTC. We will see you next Sunday. Thanks for the support, everybody. And yeah, if nothing else, we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.